Good evening and welcome to Credit Talk. My name is Todd Stern and I will be your host for the next half hour. So let's talk first a little bit what Credit Talk is and what we're going to do in the next 12 weeks. So Credit Talk is all about your credit and how to do things such as get mortgages, car loans, what to do when you have bad credit. So we're going to touch all those different topics during this show. Now this is a live call-in show, so if you have any questions regarding credit reports, why don't you call us now because our lines do fill up quickly at 312-738-1060. Again, my name is Todd Stern. I am a credit expert. I have been in the industry for 28 years. We have worked with several thousands of people over the years helping them with their credit. We have a center in the city where people stop by, we talk about their credit, we go over the reports, we help them out and put them in the right direction. So if you have any questions about your credit report, please give us a call now at 738-1060 and we can get those questions. So let's talk a little bit about credit, as I like to call it, Credit 101. Let's talk about, the topics will be, what is a credit report? What do lenders look at my credit? What is a credit score? So we're going to over the next couple weeks, go over all of these, but we're going to start out with a couple right now. So let's talk about what is a credit report. It's a detailed report of an individual's credit history prepared by a credit bureau and used by a lender in determining a loan application's credit worthiness. And what's on a credit report? Personal data, summary of the credit history, meaning your payment pattern. If you pay on time, they mark you correct. If you're late, they're going to give you a late payment. Detailed account information, your balances, when these accounts were opened. Inquiries. What is an inquiry? Inquiries are every time you go to, say, a car dealership or a bank, you're trying to get a credit card, they will pull your credit. And that's going to end up on the bottom of your credit report showing other companies who pulled your credit. So you got to be really careful about that because too many inquiries is not good either. And I always mention to people, if you're going to go to car dealerships and finance your car, make sure that they're not pulling your credit all over town because usually these guys will take it and they'll send it out to 6-7 different places, and then you go to 2 or 3 different car dealerships, you're going to have 15 plus inquiries on your report. And too many inquiries is not good for your credit. It does lower your score. So also what a credit report is going to do, unfortunately, is it's going to detail your negative information. So what is negative information? Negative information is late payments, collections, profit and loss write-offs or charge-offs they like to call them, bankruptcy, tax liens. Now when you get these items on your credit report, that's not good because what happens is your score is going to drop. And if it drops too low, next time you apply for credit, nobody's going to give you that credit. We're going to get into that a little bit as well. So let's go back here and take a look. Why do lenders look at my credit? Number one thing, to determine the ability to pay back the loan. If somebody has a good high credit score, they're going to be able to pay back the loan. That's what they're looking for. If their score is low, they don't want to give them credit because they're basically probably not going to get paid back. Okay, so let's go to our first caller. Hello, caller, and your question?
Yes, the question concerning a short sale on a home, does that affect my credit rating?
Yes, it does. And what happens is now, and I've actually talked to my friends at the credit bureaus about this. The odd thing is, so when you have a short sale on your credit, it's not going to say short sale. Unfortunately, it's going to say foreclosure, which is even worse. Even if you sell the house, it's still going to say foreclosure on there, or settle for less than original amount. I've seen both. But yeah, it's not good to have that on your report. And the biggest problem is that when you go for a new mortgage, people are going to look at that and say, uh-oh, it's going to lower your score, and they're most likely not going to give you another mortgage. But thank you very much for your call. And let's go back here, and we will. So what is a good credit score? That's, as this gentleman just called and asked, what happens when a short sale appears on the credit. So a really good credit score is 784, the high sevens. You can see the dark green is from 750 to 850. That's an excellent score. A low, they're saying 300. I've never seen a 300 before, but 580 or lower is usually about it. And let's talk about what makes up a credit score. So basically, the payment history is 35% of the credit score. So everybody, you've got to pay your bills on time. I always recommend that get set up on automatic payment. If you have a car loan, get it set up so they debit your account. So if you have a GM product, make sure that they take it right out of your account. Don't have your bank send it to them, because I've seen so many times where there's problems with the bank when they send it to them, and GM says, well, sorry, we didn't get the payment. But as long as you have money in your account and GM is trying to get the money out of your account, if there's some sort of problem, it's going to be on their end, and you can go back and say, listen, here's my statements from my bank account. I had the money in my account at that time. You guys messed up, and now you made mark me a late payment. If that does happen, they will correct it. And personally, I've always had it set up like that, and knock on wood, I've never had a problem as far as that. And always, again, try to get as much stuff as you can set up on auto debit. It just makes life a lot easier, and things get paid. Okay, back to what makes your score. Length of credit, 15%. So basically, I tell people, even if you start with a fresh slate and you go get some new credit, you're not going to be a 750. You've got to have seasoned credit. And what does seasoned mean? That means it's got to be, a year, 2 years old. The older it is, the better your score is going to be. And I've had people say, oh, okay, I'm just going to go on my wife's credit card. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't work anymore. So what happens is that gets flagged as an authorized user. Back in the day, in 2005, 2006, that was the big thing that a lot of the mortgage brokers were doing, was that they would basically tell their clients, all right, get on your wife's credit cards, and that's going to boost your score up and your credit rating. Well, after 08 and 09, when the whole housing industry went down the tubes, they kind of figured that out, that, hey, a lot of these scores are inflated. They're basically kind of fake scores, so now they have taken that out of the equation. Probably in the next couple weeks, we're actually going to have a gentleman from TransUnion come here and be our guest, and we'll really get into the ins and outs of the credit bureau, the little secrets that they might have. He'll be an excellent guest that we will have on here. We'll keep you informed on that. And again, depth of credit and the types of credit. So you want a little bit of a mix. You want to have revolving, which will be credit cards. You want to possibly have some installments. An installment is going to be a car loan, a student loan, a mortgage, those type of loans. So a little bit mixture of all of that is going to be help your credit score. Now, you don't want to have a ton of credit. I've seen people with 2 or 3 items on their report and their score's over 800. So it's pretty amazing how their score gets that high with just a couple things. Too much credit is not good either, because I've had people have 10 credit cards and they're all proud that they've got, $80,000 worth of credit available. But why is my score low? Because you have the potential of getting into $80,000 worth of credit trouble. So lenders don't like that. That's why the score is low, because all of a sudden this guy might pull the trigger and do all these credit cards and have big bills. All right, so let's go to our next caller. Hello, caller, and your question is?
Hi, great show. I was just wondering, what is the soonest after I file for bankruptcy that I can start rebuilding my credit? And I'll get off the phone and let you answer on air. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Well, that, I would say basically immediately. Now, the interesting part about that is that once you file a bankruptcy and all that debt is gone, credit companies will actually be willing to give you credit, because they basically know okay, this person does not have any more debt. So, it's a good risk. You cannot file a bankruptcy for another 10 years. So they know that you're not going to go bankrupt on them. So a lot of times these credit card companies will start sending solicitations because they monitor, they get lists, and they know who has filed bankruptcies. So I've seen, they start you out with small credit cards, $300, $400, but as long as you pay on time and keep those going, they will eventually raise the credit. And soon after that, time cures all. Bankruptcies, unfortunately, stay on your credit report for 10 years. Other negative information that's non-bankruptcy related will stay on your credit report for 7 years. There are ways of doing, challenging this negative information on your report as well to hopefully relieve your negative information sooner than waiting those 10 years. That's a whole other subject we can get into another time. But yes, you can establish credit afterwards. Start immediately. And we'll also get into another thing called secured credit cards. I don't want to jump the gun yet, and we'll talk about that. That's a good way to build credit as well. So recent credit, which again is new credit, so we don't want to get too much credit on there recently because that will lower your score too. I've seen people with high credit scores and all of a sudden they get a car loan and their score dropped. So some of the mortgage brokers that we have talked to have said, his credit score was great, and all of a sudden their credit is good, and they run out and buy a car because their credit's good. What happens? Their credit score drops. Now they can't buy the house. So we always advise people that, once you get your credit score good and it's not a problem and you want to buy a house, just chill out, relax. Don't buy anything. Keep your debt low. Remember this, the rule of thumb is a credit limit, 30% above your credit limit is going to start affecting your score. So let's just take a $1,000 credit limit. Every time you're over $300, that's going to affect your score. So when we analyze credit reports back at the help center, we look at that. First thing we'll say, okay, Mr. Smith, your debt is way too high. You've got to lower the balances. And action and then reaction, they're trying to buy this house real soon. The credit bureaus sometimes could take, and the creditors can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days to update that credit report. So the good rule of thumb is to try to keep those balances low to begin with. And I've always said in the past that, if just because you have a $10,000 credit limit doesn't mean you should go out and buy something that is way above your means and you can't pay it. Now, if it's an emergency, you got to buy a new furnace, I get it. But to go out and buy a bunch of toys and this and that and have payments on it and mess up your credit score when you're trying to buy a house is not a good thing. So, let's just go back here. People ask us this question. Number one question we get. What kind of credit score do I need to purchase a home? And again, over the next 12 weeks, I'll have a couple mortgage brokers in here as well that will talk about what you need to do and how to get pre-qualified and get all your ducks in a row so you can make the best purchase in your life is your home. But you basically can get a loan with scores as low as 640. The higher your score is, the better your rate is, and the easier it is as well. So there's programs out there which are like FHA mortgages. And the good thing about an FHA mortgage is you can have a low credit score and put a low down payment. Anywhere from 3 to 4% will be able to get you into that house. But again, the better your credit score is, the better your rate will be, and it'll make it a lot easier. Now, there's things called jumbo loans, which is, and I think the rate is, it's like anything over $430,000, or it might be a little bit more now. Those require super high credit scores in the 700, 730, 740. So in a situation like that, you have to have positive, good credit. Now, I get this situation a lot too where people will say to us, I have no credit, I cannot get any credit, what should I do? Well, the best thing to do is a secured credit card. So what is a secured credit card? It's basically a tool that can help you establish and build your credit history. It's not a prepaid card. So I get people too, or a debit card, and say, well, I've got a debit card and it's not appearing on my credit report. Well, that's because it's a debit card. And a secured credit card is you're going to go into a bank, a major bank. Credit unions might offer them. That's fine and dandy, but the number one thing you got to find out with these companies are you reporting to the credit bureaus? If they're not reporting to the credit bureaus, those cards do you absolutely no good. So a secured credit card with the major bank, you basically can put anywhere from $300 and as high as some of them will take up to $10,000. So whatever you put in there, they're going to give you that credit limit. So if you put $1,000 in, your credit limit will be $1,000. You can make purchases on it, use it. Again, on $1,000, you want to keep your balance below $300. Get some history on it, and that will report to the credit bureaus. And that's how you're going to build some credit. And again, this is a live call-in show. Give us a call right now at 312-738-1060 with your questions. Back to credit reports and secured credit cards. I always tell people, slow and steady wins the race. There's no magic pill. A lot of companies you might see on the internet will make you all these crazy promises. You got to be careful with those companies because if it sounds too good, it's not true. I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've seen all kinds of companies out there promising this and that and charging big fees. I always say stay away from those. Now the nice thing is with the internet, just Google them, read the reviews, see what people have to say about these companies. It's a great tool to use, and that way you're going to be able to see what they're all about. So let's talk a little bit more about some great things that you can do to help your credit report. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act mandates that every person should receive a free annual credit report. So we suggest that to everybody. Even if you have good credit, you should have your credit pulled at least once a year. And you can go on annualcreditreport.com, which is a free service. It's through the credit bureaus that they have to put out there, so they're not selling you anything. But you get your free credit report and review it. Make sure there's no problems, because I've seen a lot of people that have great credit and all of a sudden mix-ups happen. You got to remember, the credit bureaus are dealing with millions and millions of files, billions of items. It happens. And a lot of times names cross. A lot of times when I was actually with my guy from one of the credit bureaus a month or so ago, we were talking, and the problem is, say a family comes in from maybe another country, and they go get their Social Security cards. A lot of times, they'll do them one digit away. And if the names are the same, if it's a junior or second, it just causes all kinds of havoc with the credit reports. So it's always a good idea to pull your credit at least once a year and review it just to make sure there's no problems, nobody else's credit is on there. Look at the inquiries, review them, and make sure that nobody's pulling credit on you. So that's really, really important. Education is real important. So again, the FTC, these government agencies, they're there to protect your credit rights. And they provide free educational tools. Take advantage of these tools. Go to the FTC and read up about credit reports and unfortunately scams and stuff like that to avoid. We also like these digital calculators. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They help you budget out your financial situation, where you basically put your salary in, your living expenses. So that's good. Everything, in moderation. If we can keep those balances low on your credit cards and keep them down, that's going to help your credit score as well, because one day all of a sudden you're going to need that score to buy your house, to get a car, and you got to have good credit scores to basically get what you are trying to obtain. Okay, so that's about credit scores. Let's talk about credit history. What is, again, credit history? Credit history will be the length of how long you've had credit on your report for. So a lot of people will tell me, oh, I only have 2-3 years, because some of these services will tell you how long your credit has been out, how much credit you've had. But what happens too is when you open a credit card and you close it, and a lot of people play these games where you get the promotion and then you close it. So that's going to, mess around with your length. But again, in moderation. Another thing that I talk about with credit cards is I'm not a fan of department store cards, so don't get mad at me, but you walk into these stores and they say, oh, we're going to give you 10% off. Well, you go to 1, 2, 3, 4 different stores. Next thing you know, you have all this credit on your report. And worse than that is you got 6, 7, 8, 9 bills coming to you. What happens when they get lost in the mail? Now you got to write all these checks. You mail it back to them and it gets lost in the mail. All of a sudden, bam, you get dinged and you are late payments. So I always say, what I like to do is if you're going to get 2 or 3 cards, get the major credit cards. Try to get a rewards card if you can, and keep everything on 1 or 2 cards. Also, with the banks, what you can do is you can set up auto payments. So, for God forbid you end up in the hospital and you can't make that payment because you're incapacitated and you can't write a check or do it electronically. They will automatically draw the minimum payment out of your account. As long as there's money in that checking or savings account, they will pull it automatically. So that's really important to get that set up. So again, back to Credit Talk. I just want to thank the studio, Can TV here. They got a brand new studio, beautiful, and we really appreciate being here. A little bit about myself. Many of you might have even noticed me from maybe 10 plus years ago when we were doing the Credit Talk show as well. But we probably did 75, 100 shows back in the day. So we're a well-known TV show, and we want you to call in with your questions. If you didn't get through tonight, you can call us at the Help Center, and you can take this number down if you want. It's 844-414-7700. You might not want to talk about your credit situation on TV, so feel free to give us a call at the Help Center, and we'll go over your situation with you. And if you even need a credit report, we will get one for you. We don't charge for that. We're not going to charge you to talk or anything like that. So feel free to give us a call at the Help Center, and we'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction or refer you to the proper person that can possibly help you out. So again, we're going to be on for the next 12 weeks. Please give us a call with any questions here at the TV station at 312-738-1060 with your questions or comments, or even check out our website. We do have a website for credittalk.net, and you can ask questions there, send them to us. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. So next week we're actually bringing in a attorney, Larry Smith, who all he does is consumer law. So what that is basically is, say something happens to you that really wasn't yours, and you have fought it with the credit bureaus, you fought with the creditors, they are dinging you, they're hurting your credit report, they're trying to get money out of you, and you have proof basically that this isn't yours. Mr. Smith will be more than happy to explain to you what to do and how to get out of that situation. So next Thursday at 6 p.m. that's going to be a real interesting show. I've known Larry for several years, and we referred plenty of people there, and he's helped them out, straighten their lives out, because especially when you have stuff on your credit report and creditors are going after you, this stuff doesn't belong to you, that's not good. So be sure to watch that show, and if you have any questions for Larry Smith at the time, he would love to hear them. So I really appreciate everybody watching the show tonight. Again, if you have any more questions that you want, please give us a call at the Help Center at 844-414-7700, and we will see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. Have a great night, and keep watching Can TV 21. Thank you.